Two beings, this is Konrad, the Yerba Mate Addict here, and in today's video, I'm gonna share with you the books that have changed me as a copywriter, and maybe these are the books that will change you also, for both on a human level and also as a copywriter. So, but before we get into this, as always, Yerba is. Let's start with the fact that books will not, be the entire reason you will succeed as a copywriter or you will become a great copywriter. The same way, books won't ever fix your life if you have problems, but they can be a great inspiration of ideas, of thoughts. They can help you connect certain dots. Just basically. There's this concept of by Tom Bilyeu saying like ideas in equals ideas out. So this is really a great way to just generally have more ideas, think about your writing differently, get some outside perspective on what you might be doing wrong. And you should definitely complement it with actual practice, with maybe listening to some podcast videos, also, getting mentors, getting consulting, coaching people, like so many different things you can do to improve, but books just are one of the ways. And I will try to save you some time of maybe going into the typical, what most people suggest, like read this 20 books on copywriting and you will become a great copywriter. I think this is wrong. I think you don't need to read too many books on actually that are very like direct response or like copywriting specific, because most of them kind of they go on the same topics and the same principles and the same strategies. A lot of it is just like, someone wrote something 30 years ago and now people are just like, putting it in the different words and framing and putting a different title on it, and they call it a new how to say breakthrough book on advertising. But people discovered that 30 years ago and just haven't changed much. So I would say the key here, and that's going to be the theme of this, is that you gotta go to books that are in different segments, in different kind of areas that are connected to copywriting, but are not copywriting specific. So the first book that I would say is the crucial starter for you is Influence by Robert Cialdini. And this one basically is the groundwork on human psychology. It talks about the six principles of persuasion. So that's reciprocity, authority, liking. What else was there? Liking, social proof. And something else, I forgot the last one. But basically this goes about like the six principles of persuasion, and it just goes into detail as to like how you can use them, how maybe they were used on you, which is very interesting. You will also see that when you are, walking into a shop right now or you're buying something, you will see how people, businesses, companies use this on you, and then you will be able to also defend yourself better. So this is, I would say, a classic, and this one is a must read in my opinion, to like kind of lay some ground rules as to like what is it that we actually respond to as humans. The next one on the list of my favorite and that changed me as a copywriter is Alchemy by Rory Sutherland. I started with Rory just by watching a couple of his YouTube videos and I was hooked. Like, he's an insanely interesting guy. Rory is the chairman of Ogilvy. So Ogilvy, I don't know if you know that, but he has one of more famous books on copywriting, was David Ogilvy. It was like in 80s, I think, 80s, 90s. And Rory is basically the new chairman of the UK advertising agency, creative agency, however you want to call it. His book Alchemy, and it's basically him making a case for something that's called magic. So he basically goes against the new theme of trying to solve every problem by logic and economics, because some things we just don't understand yet. And if we try everything with logic, okay, maybe different. All the problems that can be solved with logic, for the most part, like 99.9%, have already been solved because people have been going at them for so long. So then there's a lot of things that we still don't understand. And if you want really a lot of times to have like a breakthrough in whatever, let's say in this case, in your copywriting, advertising, it sometimes means going against logic, even though it doesn't make sense, but just trying it out because we as humans, we think we are only logic animals, but we are not. We very much respond to some other things on emotional level, like our lizard brain, things like that. And Rory basically in this book gives a lot of amazing examples from the past, from big companies, from even airlines, like a lot of like some random examples that kind of show you how a lot of times it's not logic that's gonna that's gonna make the big breakthrough. I guess an example is, I think, how how you can raise prices and by that increase the demand, while every economist would say that this is going to decrease your sales and you're going to make less money. But in actual reality, it's not as clear cut, because in some cases raising the prices might actually boost both your sales, and also you will make more money on each sale. So that's just kind of like one of the examples, but there's many he outlines in the book. So highly recommend this one. This is going to open your eyes to creativity and approaching problems from a perspective as an alchemist. That's why it's alchemy. Alchemists, they used to be in the past, used to play around with different things and experiment. So that's he's saying basically that we lack them now. The next one on my list is Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. This one is a classic. It's basically a certain framework that repeats in almost all the classic movies that have succeeded, like let's say Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. This is basically a theme of how every great story is created. It's something that's ingrained deep into us. It's basically going into unknown, facing some kind of an obstacle enemy, overcoming it, facing another one, then coming back to your origins with the lessons learned. And this seems to be like one of the most, it's not the only one, but one of the most effective ways of telling stories. That's why telling people facts a lot of times and just like bullet points doesn't work, because we are not designed to take information this way. We are designed to take it as a stories, because that's how we used to do it in the past around the fire, just telling to each other with the background, with so. And you can have the full hero's journey, you can have short versions of it, but this basically is a great framework, and Joseph Campbell kind of dissects it very detailed, and I think it's going to help your copywriting massively, because you're going to understand the archetypes of different archetypes that we resonate with. And the next one on my list is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, and this guy is an FBI negotiator. He's been kind of famous. He's worked there for many years, and a few years ago, he wrote a book called Never Split the Difference that basically it changed my perspective a lot on how to use empathy, tactical empathy, how to kind of talk with people, how to use no, how to say no, how to basically I love his book for the fact that he had to use it in such circumstances. There was life and death. So his things had to work. So I believe like when you read and listen to him, you can watch him first on YouTube if you want, or some interviews with him before you dive into the book. But you will see that he has there's so many concepts of his that go against the normal, like normal advice out there, that that it's just gonna hook you in. Like it hooked me, and I really advise you to watch or listen to this audiobook, because you will know how to communicate a lot better. Your calls, if you have sales calls with clients, are going to improve massively. Obviously, you have to implement those things, but you're going to get certainly a new perspective on how to make like each interaction a win-win, at least in somebody's head. And I would say this is, this book is, for me, it's one of the best. And it's both on psychology, human psychology, on sales, on negotiation, on anything. It's going to help you both in business, in personal life, and as a copywriter. So I recommend this one. And the last one on my list, in Entrepreneur's Guide to Getting Your Shit Together by John Carlton. This one, contrary to the title, is also on copywriting. It's not just on being an entrepreneur, but it's just a compilation of stories and some random tips and examples and ideas from John Carlton, who is like one of the more famous copywriters, direct response copywriters, who's been earning like thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars for gigs for writing sales letters. And it's a great book from someone who's went through a lot. He worked with Gary Halbert, so one of the most famous copywriters of all time. And it's both. I learned a lot there on on kind of a career as a freelancer, a career as a copywriter, and also a lot of tips on actual copywriting, how to write great, what are some formulas. And there's 2 volumes to this book, so I highly recommend this one. John Carlton, one of my favorite. Check him out on YouTube too if you want. Before that, on some interviews. So yeah, I hope this was it was just like a quick bullet point list of books that have changed me as a copywriter and have helped me also in other areas. And I try to describe each book in a very small detail, but I also don't want to spoil for you. What I do usually is I go watch an interview or a video of the author, and I see if I resonate with him and I feel like he has some truth and he has something new and interesting that I haven't thought about. If he has, then I go and listen or read the book. So that's what I recommend for you guys. And so thanks a lot for sticking with me today. And until next time, let the Yerba be with you. See ya.